Hello, all my dear students. I'm Amit Ajmani, your science faculty, and I welcome you all to Sri Jendra Rank Zone classes. And in this session, we will be taking up a new chapter, that is how do organisms reproduce. Now, let us study about reproduction. Reproduction means to produce again. What exactly is this process? This is the process of production of new organisms from the existing organisms of the same species. This is reproduction. Now this reproduction is very important process. Why? Because it is essential for the survival of a species on the earth. We know that all the living organisms have a limited lifespan, right? So all the living organisms are going to die one day, whether it is the lifespan is of one day or 1 year or 10 years or 100 years or 1,000 years. But no living organism is immortal. So if all the living organisms one by one they will die, it will be the end of species on the earth. So in order to make the survival of a species possible, all the living organisms reproduce organisms of their same types before they die, and this is reproduction, and that is why it ensures the survival of the species on earth. It will ensure the continuity of life on earth because it gives rise to more organisms with the same basic characteristics as their parents. Right? Now, the existing organisms are called parents, and the new organisms which are produced by them, they are called the offsprings. Let us relate about what gametes are. Gametes are actually the sex cells which are present in an organism. These gametes contain all the heredity information, and it is these gametes only which carry out the process of sexual reproduction. These gametes are also known by some different names like germ cells, sex cells, and reproductive cells. And these gametes are of two types. One are the male gametes which are present in the male organism, and the other are the female gametes which are present in the female organism. Right? Now, based on whether these gametes are involved or not, there are two types of reproduction. One is called the asexual mode of reproduction, and another is called the sexual mode of reproduction. Let us go through them one by one. First of all, let us relate the asexual mode of reproduction. Now, this is the mode of reproduction. This is the production of new organism from a single parent without the involvement of sex cells or gametes. So the sex cells are not involved, and because the sex cells are not involved, therefore only one single parent is sufficient to produce an offspring. And because one single parent is sufficient, that is why all the individuals are genetically identical and they are cloned to each other, because only the characteristics of one parent are coming into the next generation. Now, this type of mode of reproduction is more common among the unicellular organisms and plants. Depending upon various organisms, there are different ways of asexual mode of reproduction. For example, in amoeba, binary fission takes place. In hydra, budding takes place. In case of rhizopus fungus, which is the bread mold, it reproduces through another method of asexual reproduction called spore formation. In Spirogyra, a process called regeneration or fragmentation is taking place, and in Planaria, this fragmentation takes place. In flowering plants like rose plants or other plants, vegetative propagation takes place. We'll study about all these one by one in detail, right? Talking about the sexual mode of reproduction, now this is the mode of reproduction in which sex cells or gametes are involved. And since we know that these gametes are of two types, one are male gametes and one are female gametes, so therefore two parents are required in this particular process of sexual mode of reproduction. So it is the production of new organism from two parents by making use of their sex cells or gametes. So we can differentiate between asexual and sexual mode now. We know that in asexual, only one parent is involved, whereas in sexual mode of reproduction, two parents are involved. In asexual mode of reproduction, the sex cells or gametes are not involved, whereas in sexual mode of reproduction, sex cells or gametes are involved. Now, since two parents are involved and the characteristics of both the parents are going to come into the offspring, therefore, in sexual mode of reproduction, variations occur. And these variations ultimately accumulate and may lead to evolution. So, variations occur and evolution is possible in the case of sexual mode, but no such possibility is there in case of asexual mode. Why? Because only one parent is involved, and that is why the offsprings are identical, they are clones, so there will be no variations. And if there are no variations, there is no possibility of evolution taking place. So these are the differences between sexual mode and asexual mode of reproduction. Now we will be studying about the various types of asexual mode of reproduction depending upon the different organisms. So let us study them one by one. The first process of asexual mode of reproduction that we are going to study is fission. Now what exactly is fission? Fission means splitting up, breaking up. Now this fission is a mode of asexual reproduction in which the parent organism of the single-celled organisms like protozoa, like bacteria, amoeba, they split up. They divide to form two or more new organisms. Now, if a parent is getting divided into two organisms, that fission is called binary fission. Binary means into two. And if the parent is getting splitted up into more than two organisms, it is called multiple fission. So fission is further of two types, binary fission and multiple fission. In binary fission, the parent is dividing into two new organisms, right? And in multiple, more than two. Fine. Organisms like amoeba, paramecium, bacteria, etc., they reproduce by binary fission. And when we talk about multiple fission, Plasmodium. Now this Plasmodium is a malarial parasite. We need to remember this because it will be asked in our questions like what is the mode of nutrition in the organism causing malaria. So the first thing we need to know is that malaria causing organism or parasite is Plasmodium, and this Plasmodium reproduces through the process of multiple fission. Let us see how exactly these processes take place. First of all, talking about the reproduction in amoeba, that is the binary fission. Now, amoeba is a single cell organism, we know, and it reproduces by the process of binary fission. That is, it will be divided into two parts. What exactly happens is when amoeba cell reaches its maximum size of growth, then first of all, the nucleus of amoeba, it starts lengthening and it starts dividing into two parts, and this process is called karyokinesis. After that, the cytoplasm of amoeba will divide into two parts, and this process is called cytokinesis, and one part around each nucleus. In this way, one parent amoeba finally divides to form two smaller amoebae, which are also known as daughter amoeba. And this division can take place through any plane. Let's diagrammatically understand this. This is a parent cell. This is a fully grown amoeba having its own nucleus and the cytoplasm. and we know the outer membrane is called pseudopodia. Now, when that process of division starts occurring, then first of all this nucleus lengthens, and this nucleus gets divided into two equal parts. Now, this process is called karyokinesis. Then there will be a constriction occurring which will divide the cytoplasm in two parts, and finally these will break from the middle and we will get two smaller amoebae or two daughter amoebae, right? So this is the process of binary fission, because one amoeba is getting splitted up into two offsprings. Clear? Now, paramecium, a single-celled organism, also exactly divides the same way as amoeba. That means it also shows binary fission. Now, when we talk about leishmania, leishmania is also a unicellular organism, and it is a protozoan parasite which causes a disease called Kala Azar, also known as black fever or leishmaniasis. Now, this leishmania causing Kala Azar also reproduces through binary fission like amoeba, but there is a difference. In leishmania, the splitting of division takes place in a definite plane. It takes place longitudinally with respect to the flagellum, that is the whip or hair-like structure at its one end. So we need to remember the mode of reproduction in amoeba is binary fission. The mode of reproduction is in paramecium is binary fission. The mode of reproduction in the organism causing Kala Azar is binary fission, right? So this is the first type of fission. Talking about the second type, that is multiple fission. Now this multiple fission, as we know, is also a mode of asexual reproduction, and in this mode one parent splits into more than two new organisms at the same time. And the example that we need to learn is Plasmodium, a unicellular malarial parasite. It is a protozoan, it causes malaria, and it reproduces through multiple fission, right? Now, this is how this process takes place. Whenever there are certain unfavorable circumstances or conditions, Plasmodium forms a cyst or a protective wall around its cell. This is the cyst that it has formed, and in this we have got this so-called unicellular malarial parasite having the nucleus and the cytoplasm, right? Now, inside this cyst, the nucleus of the cell splits or divides several times to form many smaller nuclei, which are called the daughter nuclei, as we can see in this figure, right? Now, little bits of cytoplasm collect around each daughter nuclei, and thin membranes are formed around them. So in this way, many daughter nuclei are formed with a single parent within this cyst. And whenever favorable conditions will arrive, then this cyst is going to break open, and all these daughter nuclei, all these daughter cells present in this cyst are released, and each of them will form a new organism. So here we can see one plasmodium has split up into many various daughter cells, and this is multiple fission. So these are the two types of fission. Let us try to relate the differences between the two. In binary, we have seen that the organism splits into two daughter cells, and in multiple fission, the organism splits into more than two cells. In binary fission, no cyst formation takes place, whereas in multiple fission, a cyst is formed as a protective covering which protects the plasmodium during unfavorable conditions. So this is all about our first mode of asexual reproduction, that is fission. Coming to the second mode. The second mode is budding. Now, budding is a mode of asexual reproduction in which a small part of the body of the parent organism grows out as a bud. This bud detaches itself and becomes a new organism. This process of budding is observed in Hydra and yeast. In Hydra, first of all, we have got a small outgrowth which is called a bud. It is formed on one of the sides of the body by the repeated mitotic divisions of the cell, right? Like this. This is parent Hydra. These are the tentacles of the Hydra. We get a small protuberance or the outgrowth which is called bud, right? Now this bud then gradually grows to form a small Hydra by developing its own mouth and tentacles, and finally this will get detached, and this tiny new Hydra will be formed and it will live as a separate organism. The same process take place in yeast, which is a non-green plant, a fungus. Now, in yeast, the bud which is formed may get detached, but many a times these buds remain attached to the parent organism permanently. For example, this was a parent yeast cell. Now a bud was formed. One option is that this bud is detached, it is nipped off, but there are times when the buds remain attached, and now this bud will grow, and after that again a new bud will be formed. It will grow to its fullest, again a new bud will be formed. So in this case, now a long chain of yeast cells will be formed. In sponges and corals, we see that the same way the buds remain attached and a colony of sponges or corals is formed. So this is the process of budding. Let us come to the next process, that is spore formation. Before that, we need to know what exactly are spores. Spores are the microscopic asexual reproductive bodies, and these spores are covered by a hard protective coat which enables them to survive under unfavorable conditions. We can also call these spores to be the seeds of the plants. They are just kind of that only. Next thing that we need to know is hyphae. Now what is hyphae? These are the fine hollow threads which make up the body of many non-green plants like fungi. Now these hyphae are further of two types. The horizontal hyphae are also called stolons, whereas the erect hyphae or the vertical hyphae are called sporangiophores. One more thing that we need to relate is sporangia. These sporangia are the tiny round structures at the top of erect hyphae, and these sporangia contains those tiny particles called spores. So after understanding these terms, let us relate this process of spore formation. First of all, let us see. These are the hyphae, the tube-like structures, right? This is the horizontal hyphae and these are the vertical hyphae. At the top of these vertical hyphae, we have got this sporangia or sporangium, singular is sporangium, which contains these dotted spores. These spores are enclosed in this hard outer covering, right? And when the favorable conditions will come, these spores will come off. Let us see how the process takes place. Spore formation. This is the process we are talking about. It is a method of asexual reproduction in which the parent plant produces hundreds of microscopic reproductive units called spores. Now, when the spores case of the plant burst, then the spores spread into the air. And these airborne spores land on food or soil under favorable conditions, and the favorable conditions for them are damp and warm conditions. Then they germinate and they produce new plant. Most of the fungi like Rhizopus, like Mucor, like Penicillium and bacteria, they reproduce by this method. We need to remember that Rhizopus is also known as bread mold. So we are asked, name the method of reproduction in bread mold. So bread mold is rhizopus, and in rhizopus, spore formation takes place. Right? Now the next method is regeneration. Now what exactly is regeneration? It is the process of getting back a full organism from its body parts. This is also a method of asexual reproduction, in which we have got organisms like Hydra, Planaria, that is the flatworms, and Spirogyra. They grow into new organisms from their cut body parts. Right? Hydra naturally reproduces through budding, but it can also reproduce through regeneration, and it has been found that a piece of Hydra as small as 1/6 of a millimeter long is capable of regenerating itself into a full Hydra. Right? Now, in case of planaria, we see that this is a planaria. If this planaria is cut into 3 different parts, then all these separate parts are capable to regenerate themselves into a full organism. So this is how regeneration takes place. Now, if we actually relate, then regeneration is not exactly the same as reproduction. Why? Because most of the simple organisms, they will not depend on being cut into pieces to be able to reproduce. Right? So regeneration is not exactly a mode of so-called reproduction. It is used by only those organisms which have a relatively simple body organization, which consist of only a few specialized cells or tissues. We cannot expect this process to take place in complex multicellular organisms. Why? Because in complex multicellular organisms, the body design is very complex. Specialized cells make up tissues, tissues further add up to make organs, and organs make up organ systems. And these organ systems finally work together to form an organism. And because in complex multicellular organisms, there is a very high degree of organization in their body, so they cannot be reproduced from their cut body parts by the process of regeneration. Clear? So this is found only in simple organisms. Next process is fragmentation. The breaking up of the body of a simple multicellular organism into 2 or more parts on its own upon maturing. That is called fragmentation, and in fragmentation, each of these parts will finally grow to form a complex new organism. Right? This fragmentation occurs in simple multicellular plants like Spirogyra and simple multicellular marine animals like sea anemones. This is a Spirogyra. This Spirogyra is actually fully developed, and then it gets broken down into various fragments. Just a second, let me bring it to. So these are now 1, 2 and 3 different Spirogyra which are produced, and they will now ultimately grow into full organisms. Now if we try to relate, in multiple fission also we have seen that the same process takes place, that an organism is broken down into more than 2 organisms. In fragmentation also we are saying the same thing, that an organism is broken down or splits up into 2 or more than 2. So what is the difference between these two? They are same. Why different names? It is because the multiple fission takes place in unicellular organisms, whereas when we talk about fragmentation, we are talking about the same process but in multicellular organisms. So this is the difference between multiple fission and fragmentation. Clear? Now the next process is very important. This is vegetative propagation. Now what exactly happens in vegetative propagation? It is also a method of asexual reproduction in which new plants are obtained from the parts of old plants, like from stems, from roots, or from leaves. And it is done without the help of any reproductive organs. In this process, normally what happens is that the growth and development of one or more buds which are present on the old part of the plant, they are involved to form a new plant. Now these buds are initially in the dormant state, that is the inactive state in the old part of the plant, and when they are provided with the favorable conditions, then now what are the favorable conditions? Moisture, warmth, nutrition. So these buds will grow to form new plants. The most common example is the green grass that we see whenever it rains. This green grass grows by the method of vegetative propagation. Okay, now this is exactly how vegetative propagation takes place in a plant called bryophyllum. In bryophyllum and begonia plant, these are few exceptional plants which can reproduce by the process of vegetative propagation by using either a piece of its stem or even its leaves. This is the leaf of a bryophyllum plant, and we can see that they have got special type of buds in their margins or edges. These buds may get detached from the leaves, fall to the ground, and then they grow to produce new bryophyllum plants. So this is an exception where the process of vegetative propagation or the process of reproduction is taking place through the leaves, right? Sometimes, even before a leaf drops on bryophyllum plant, new plantlets can be seen already growing on it. Same type of bud reproduction takes place in potato through a tuber. Now, what is a tuber? It is the thickened underground stem or root of a plant which is swollen with stored food. There are two types of tubers. One is stem tubers and the other ones are root tubers. Potato is an example of stem tuber, whereas sweet potato is an example of a root tuber. Now this tuber has a number of buds and these buds are called eyes. These buds act as organs for reproduction. Each of these buds or each of these eyes of the tuber that grows into a new plant when the old tuber is planted in the soil in the next growing season. Right? Now, the vegetative propagation method of producing potato plants by tubers is much faster than the production of potato plants from seeds. Why? Reason is because each potato plant produces more than one tuber and each tuber has more than one bud which produces more than one new plant at the same time. So this is the advantage. This is, you can see here, is a potato plant having these tubers and buds are originating which will give rise to a new plant, right? Now this vegetative propagation is carried out by various methods. First of them is cutting. Now what exactly is cutting? In this process of vegetative propagation, a part of the plant which is removed by taking a cut with a sharp knife, this is called cutting. This cutting may be a piece of stem or root or leaf and it has got some buds on it. So what we do is that this cutting of the parent plant is buried partly in moist soil and after some time the cutting will develop roots and it will grow into a new plant which will be identical to the parent plant. Various plants like rose plants, grapes, sugarcane, bananas, they are reproduced by means of cutting only, right? So this is basically a stem cutting. We can see in the diagram. This is having a bud on it. It is just buried in the moist soil. After some time, we can see from the bud, the shoot is developing and the roots are getting developed, which will transform into a new plant. So this is the method of cutting. The second way of vegetative propagation is by layering. Now, what exactly we do in this process? In this method, a branch of the plant is pulled towards the ground and a part of it is covered with moist soil, leaving the tip of the branch exposed above the ground. After some time, we will see that new roots will develop from that part of the branch which was buried in the soil. Let us see through this diagram. This is how exactly the process of layering takes place. This is a jasmine plant and this was a branch of plant here and a branch of plant there. We just bent it and we buried it into the soil. After some time we will see that the roots have started developing, because of which a new plant is developed. Then we will cut these branches from the parent plant and these plants will grow on their own, right? So this will be a new plant which is formed from the buried branch. Various plants like jasmine, strawberry, raspberry, lemon, guava, hibiscus, which is also called China rose, bougainvillea, mogra, they all reproduce asexually through this process of layering, right? So this is the second process of vegetative propagation. There is yet another way which is called grafting. Now this grafting is a very interesting method. It is a method of asexual reproduction in which a slanting cut stems of two different plants, they are taken and they are joined together. Now, one of these plants is with roots and this is called stalk, and the other is without roots which is called scion. So we will join them and in such a way that the two plant stems join and grow as a single plant. And quite interestingly, now this plant will have the features of both the original plants. While doing so, the two slanting cut surfaces of the scion as well as the stalk, they are fitted together and bound tightly with a piece of cloth, and then it is covered with polythene sheet. Why so? Because it will prevent the harmful infections by bacteria or fungus, and it also prevent the loss of water and plant sap from the cut and the joint end of stalk and scion. There are various plants, especially the fruit trees and flowering bushes like mango, apple, apricot. They are produced by this process of grafting. Let us see with the help of the figure how this process takes place. This is the part of the plant with roots. This is called stalk. This is the upper part of the plant without root. That is called scion. We have made a slanting cut on both of these and we have just kept them over each other, and after that they are joined together firstly with the help of a cloth and then covered with polythene sheet, right? After some time they will connect and the vascular tissue between them will join, leading to the transportation, and this plant will have the characteristics of both the plants, upper one also and the lower one also, right? Now, through natural methods, vegetative reproduction takes place in various plants in different ways. Let us see. If it is taking through stem, then from stem it is through bulb. For example, the modified shoot, short stem having apical and auxiliary bud. Example is onion and tulipa, where this type of vegetative propagation takes place through the bulb of the stem. Or in the cases of runners, the creeping step produce roots at nodes. Example, dubgrass. Through rhizomes, that is underground horizontally brewing stem. Example in ginger. In corn, condensed rhizome growing vertically. Example as in saffron and colocasia. Through tubers, modification of underground stem tip. For example in potatoes. Offset, that is the prostate branch with leaves at the apex, example in water luteus and water hyacinth. If this process is taking place through roots, then it is through root tubers. The root develop the buds and each forms a plant. Example in sweet potato and asparagus and in dahlia. Through leaves also it takes place, and the plantlets develop along the leaf margin, which on detachment produces independent plant. Example Bryophyllum pinnatum. So these are the various ways through which the vegetative propagation takes place through the stem, root or leaves. Now very importantly, this vegetative propagation plays a very vital role because reproducing through vegetative parts has various advantages. Now what are those advantages? Number one, this is usually for the propagation or the reproduction of those plants which produce either very few seeds or do not produce viable seeds. Example, banana, pineapple, orange, grapes, rose. They either have very few seeds or they do not produce viable seeds. So how they are going to be reproduced? They are going to be reproduced by this particular process of vegetative propagation. Second advantage is that the new plants which are produced by this process will be exactly like the parent plant. So we will get the identical features. Next advantage is that the fruit trees which are grown from seeds, they may take many years before they starting to bear fruit. But when we just reproduce them through this process, then the fruit trees which are grown from cuttings or by grafting start to bear fruits much earlier. Only after a few growing seasons they can start producing the fruits. Next advantage is that the plants grown by vegetative propagation usually need less attention in their early years than the plants which are grown from seeds. So less maintenance and less attention is required. Another very important advantage of vegetative propagation is that many plants can be grown from just one parent plant by artificial propagation. And through this process we can get the seedless plants also. So these are the various advantages of vegetative propagation, and this is all about the process of reproduction in plants and the various methods of asexual mode of reproduction. So let us try to brush up once again what are the various methods we have studied till now. In this lecture, we have mainly focused on the asexual mode of reproduction. First of all, we got to know what exactly reproduction is and why is it important. Then we saw what are the gametes or the sex cells or the germ cells, right? They are also called reproductive cells. Two types, male gametes and female gametes. Based on the involvement of gametes, the types of reproduction are asexual and sexual. In sexual, we saw that the gametes are involved, and asexual, no gametes are involved. Some other differences we saw that in sexual reproduction, two parents are required, whereas in asexual reproduction, only one parent is required. In sexual reproduction, we saw that the variation and evolution process is possible, which is not possible in the case of asexual mode of reproduction. So these are a few differences that we see between these. Then we discuss the various methods of asexual reproduction. Now in this, students, you need to not only relate the process, but very importantly, you need to remember the examples, because most of the times you will be asked the question that name the mode of reproduction taking place in Plasmodium, how planaria reproduces, what is the mode of reproduction in Spirogyra, right? So these are the questions which you will encounter mainly. So just learning the types of asexual reproduction is not enough. You need to learn the various examples of the organisms which reproduce through these methods. Let us see one by one. Fission, that is breaking up. If an organism is breaking up into two, that is called binary fission. If it is breaking up in more than two, it is called multiple fission. For binary fission, we saw main examples amoeba, paramecium, and the organism causing leishmaniasis, that is Kala Azar disease, black fever. Very important, the organism is leishmania and it reproduces through binary fission. Multiple fission is when an organism is splitting up into two or more than two, and we saw that, or we need to remember that it takes place in Plasmodium. Now, Plasmodium is a malarial parasite. We need to remember that the organism which causes malaria is Plasmodium. The organism which causes Kala Azar is the Leishmania. Right? After fission, we saw the next process, that was budding. Now, budding takes place in hydra and yeast, and in sponges and corals the colonies are formed. In hydra the bud is detached, whereas in yeast the bud may detach or may not detach, causing the joining together and formation of colonies. Right? So hydra and yeast, bud formation and reproduction takes place through budding. Fine. The next process was spore formation, in which we know what exactly spores are, what are hyphae, what are sporangia, and this process takes place in Rhizopus, Mucor, Penicillium. Very important thing, Rhizopus is a fungus which is also known as bread mold. This is what is being asked, that name the mode of reproduction in fungi or in bread mold. Clear? The next process is regeneration, in which an organism is cut into parts. Quite importantly, it takes place in Planaria, which is a flatworm, and Spirogyra. And this regeneration cannot take place in multicellular organisms because our body designs are comparatively quite complex. Next process is fragmentation, which takes place in Spirogyra and sea anemones. Quite importantly, the difference between fragmentation and multiple fission is that multiple fission takes place in unicellular organisms, whereas fragmentation takes place in multicellular organisms. Right? Next, the most important one, we talked about the process of vegetative propagation, in which we studied about the buds, about the tuber, the various three processes of cutting, layering and grafting, and we also studied about the various advantages of vegetative propagation. Especially remember about Bryophyllum and Begonia, which reproduce through their leaves. Clear? So this is just a brush up of what all we did in today's lecture regarding the details of the asexual mode of reproduction. We are ending up this lecture here itself only. I want you people, as always, to not only read but to learn, especially the examples and the details of all the methods of vegetative of asexual reproduction, right? And in the next lecture, we'll be just discussing about the various methods of sexual reproduction, both in the case of plants as well as in the case of animals, how sexual reproduction, involvement of sex cells or the gametes, involvement of two parents, we will see in the case of plants and animals in the next class. Fine. So I hope whatever is being taught, you are able to relate regarding the today's class, and definitely by the next class, you will not only read, understand, but also learn all the details of the topic. So meet you soon in the next lecture. Till then, stay healthy, stay happy, take care of yourself and have a good time. Thank you so much. Have a great day.